Hello guys, Joe with BitRaged. So Bitcoin is selling off here, and to those of you in the community, that's not a shock. We've been talking about this for months. So I want to share with you why I feel like this sell-off is a good thing, and it's not the negative people are portraying it as. So, for example, we've been trading this pattern for months, literally since February when we saw this bounce. And we've been confined in this pattern for months. This break gives us the opportunity to create something different. It gives Bitcoin the opportunity to move in a different way. So I want to show you a couple things on the chart here that I thought was interesting. So prior to the sell-off, obviously we know that we had this bounce here, and then we kind of moved up very correctively, moved down into this more of descending channel, moved back up, and then we formed this pattern here. And this pattern here is really interesting. So if you look at this pattern here looks like a small version of the larger, higher time frame pattern we've been trading for months. And so that's really interesting. We saw the outcome of this smaller pattern, and then we see the outcome of the bigger pattern. Just really interesting. It's really interesting to see these patterns play out and the weight that they really do hold. So obviously this sell-off again is not a surprise. We have been talking about this for months. But it's not such a negative thing, because now Bitcoin has the opportunity to actually get someplace. Because as long as we're trading this pattern here, it's very, very unlikely that belief is going to come back. As long as we're kind of just moving sideways, creating this continuation pattern, this consolidation pattern, the likelihood is for it to continue to drop. That would be natural progression. And so we see that now. It's not a shock. It should not be a shock to you. So right now it's just forming a more messy version of a continuation pattern, a flag to move lower. So we could get something more like this. We could get a much bigger continuation pattern, and it may not look this clean. We could get a big continuation pattern, and that is very likely given the size of the impulse. It's very likely to get that kind of a continuation pattern, a deeper continuation pattern. So don't be surprised if this kind of moves sideways for a bit and then creates that pattern. But again, I would not be surprised if it just dropped from here either, because you can see we've got a deep impulse here. So we got a lot of sell pressure. And so I would not be surprised if it just drops from here. But if it does create this continuation type pattern, then you're safer to take that as a short if you wanted to do that. So as far as points to watch, I have this support line in, and it's more of a reflection point than anything. I'm not necessarily expecting price to turn around there. If it does give us something like a descending type pattern, and it gives us a really clear pattern, then we'll look at that and we'll analyze that, and we'll come back to that. But it's more of a reflection point for me. But again, if you look at this on the weekly chart, we have the impulse. We have this continuation pattern in the form of a triangle, and now we're forming that impulse out. And so it's very likely, and it's very possible, to get another impulse and then form something completely different. So how far it goes, absolutely nobody knows. So nobody knows what price will hit, but if we do create something different, we'll obviously cover that here on the channel. But for me, this is a very exciting time for Bitcoin, because we've been stuck in this channel for such a long time. And now we're finally breaking out. We have the opportunity to create something different. So if we're just stuck in this channel, obviously we know the outcome, but now that we have broke it, we're free to create new structure, and we'll address that as the market moves. So I wanted to close here with a couple articles, and one of those is a probe from the CFTC into manipulation from cryptocurrency exchanges. So basically, the CFTC is getting frustrated. They have asked the exchanges to cooperate and provide data. These exchanges are not providing that data, and as a result of that, they have demanded it. And so now they're serious. Before, it was more of a provide the data, we'll look it over, make sure everything is on the level. Now it's demanded. This is crucial. It's you provide the information, or we start a much deeper investigation into your exchange. And if you don't provide that data as an exchange, it's very fishy. And so that's really good. We need accountability for exchanges. They cannot be allowed to just do whatever they want, because we've seen manipulation, we've seen exchange manipulation, and that's got to stop. Another really interesting article here is the CFTC commissioner actually said that he believes that cryptocurrency will proliferate to every economy, and it will become a very important part of smaller economies, a very important part of the world. You know, a lot of people think that the CFTC is out to just regulate cryptocurrency to pieces and they want to take it over, and that's not really what we're seeing. What we're seeing is a probe into exchange manipulation, into exchange wrongdoing. We're not seeing a control of the currency itself. That's important. He said that we are witnessing a technological revolution, the modern miracle. And so it's really interesting. That is positive, and you should focus on those things. And I really believe that once we get the market to a point where exchanges can't do whatever they want, we'll start to attract bigger investors. We'll start to attract more liquidity. You know, you'll get brokers that'll pick up Bitcoin as a pair, and it'll just be more available, which will create a more liquid market. And the more liquidity you get in the market, the less chance that it can be manipulated by any one party. So that's ultimately a very positive thing. So as it sells off here, you know, what I would be doing is really focusing on developing your skill as a trader, because this is going to bounce back eventually. We don't know how far it's going to sell off. We don't know how far the impulse will go. We don't know how far this will drop. But we know that eventually we'll get the bounce back. And will it go to all-time highs? Absolutely nobody knows that. But the point is that this market will stabilize, that we'll get a very strong market, and you want to be ready for that. If you develop your skill now, and when that happens, when the market really stabilizes, and we're starting to see that, patterns are really working out well, structure is working out well, you know, strategy in this market is working well. But once we start to see the market get even better and more liquid, you want to be ready for that. And so I would really focus on developing your skill as a trader, and we look forward to being a part of that and doing what we can to provide that education, because there really is a lack in this market, in this community, for good education for traders. So that's what we want to do. That's been our goal since we created the channel, and we're happy to have each one of you here with us. But that's going to do it for the video. I did want to show you some positive things that are coming out. We're starting to see some very positive things in the cryptocurrency market, and the sell-off doesn't bother me. In fact, I see it as a good thing, because it gives us a chance to create something different than we've been trading for the last 4 or 5 months. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.